Imagine being strapped into a glass bubble, screaming through the sky at twice the speed of sound. You don't sit in this jet, you wear it. One flick of the wrist, and 9 gs of force crush your lungs while you dance through a hail of missiles. This is the F-16 Fighting Falcon, the Viper. It was built by rebels to be the ultimate dogfighter, but it became the most successful multi-role weapon in history. Today, we're looking at the jet that changed the rules of the sky and why, 50 years later, it's still the most feared predator in the air. The origin of the F-16 was born from a crisis of identity within the United States Air Force during the Vietnam War. At the time, the Air Force was obsessed with massive, twin-engine interceptors like the F-4 Phantom, which were designed to fire missiles from long range but struggled in a knife fight with nimble Soviet MiGs. A rogue group of military analysts and engineers, known as the Fighter Mafia, rebelled against this philosophy. Led by the legendary John Boyd, they demanded a small, lightweight, and incredibly agile fighter that prioritized energy maneuverability over raw size. This rebel spirit eventually gave birth to the YF-16, a plane that was so revolutionary it fundamentally changed how we think about aerial combat. Engineering the F-16 was a masterclass in breaking the rules. It was the first aircraft in the world to be designed with relaxed static stability. In simple terms, the plane is naturally unstable, it wants to flip over and tumble through the sky. While this sounds like a disaster, it is actually the secret to its insane agility. Without a digital fly-by-wire flight control system, a human pilot couldn't fly the F-16 for a single second. The computer constantly makes thousands of tiny adjustments to keep the jet stable, allowing the pilot to perform maneuvers that would tear other aircraft apart. It was the world's first computer-controlled predator. Instead of a traditional central control stick, the F-16 introduced the side-stick controller on the right console. This pressure-sensitive stick barely moves. Instead, it feels how much force the pilot is applying and translates that into instant movement of the aircraft's control surfaces. This allowed for much more precise handling during high-speed maneuvers and combat. Every switch and button a pilot needed to fight, from radar controls to weapon release, was placed directly on the stick and throttle, a concept known as HOTAS, hands on throttle and stick. It turned the pilot and the plane into a single, lethal organism. To power this lightweight frame, the F-16 was fitted with a single, massive Pratt & Whitney F-100 turbofan engine. This gave the jet a thrust-to-weight ratio of greater than 1:1, meaning the F-16 could actually accelerate while climbing vertically like a rocket. It was a motor with wings, capable of reaching speeds over Mach 2 and soaring to altitudes of 50,000 feet in a matter of minutes. This raw power, combined with its small radar cross-section, made the F-16 a ghost that could strike from nowhere and disappear before the enemy even realized they were in a dogfight. When the F-16 officially entered service in the late 1970s, it was a low-cost alternative to the massive F-15 Eagle, but it quickly proved it was much more than a budget fighter. It was rugged, easy to maintain, and incredibly versatile. While it was born as a pure day fighter for dogfighting, its modular design meant it could be upgraded to carry almost any weapon in the NATO arsenal. From precision-guided bombs to advanced air-to-air missiles, the Fighting Falcon was evolving into a multi-role everything machine, setting the stage for 40 years of global dominance that no other fighter could hope to match. The F-16's combat debut was not with the U.S. Air Force, but with the Israeli Air Force, and it was nothing short of spectacular. In 1981, 8 Israeli F-16s took part in Operation Opera, a daring long-range strike on the Osirak nuclear reactor in Iraq. Flying low through enemy territory to avoid radar, the F-16s navigated hundreds of miles with pinpoint precision and obliterated the facility in a matter of seconds. It was a stunning display of the jet's range, navigation, and strike capability. The world watched in awe as the lightweight fighter proved it could perform strategic missions that were previously thought to be the job of heavy bombers. During the 1982 Lebanon War, the F-16 solidified its reputation as the king of the dogfight. In the massive air battles over the Bekaa Valley, Israeli F-16s went head-to-head with Soviet-made Syrian MiGs. The result was one of the most lopsided air victories in history. The F-16's superior maneuverability and advanced radar allowed Israeli pilots to rack up dozens of kills without losing a single aircraft in air-to-air combat. The Viper had met its Soviet rivals and absolutely crushed them, proving that the American fighter Mafia had been right all along. Agility and pilot visibility were the ultimate weapons in the sky. When the United States went to war in the Persian Gulf in 1991, the F-16 was the backbone of the air campaign. During Operation Desert Storm, the F-16 flew more sorties than any other aircraft in the Allied fleet. It hunted Scud missile launchers in the desert, obliterated Iraqi radar sites, and provided constant close air support for the advancing ground troops. Despite facing one of the densest anti-aircraft networks in the world, the F-16 proved to be incredibly resilient. It was a 24/7 war machine, flying through the smoke and fire of Kuwait to prove that it was no longer just a lightweight fighter, but the primary workhorse of the modern age. One of the most legendary stories from Desert Storm involved an F-16 pilot named Major Tully Carroll. During a massive strike on Baghdad, his flight was targeted by 6 surface-to-air missiles. In a display of pure skill and the F-16's insane maneuverability, Carroll dodged every single missile, pulling violent G-turns and using his flare dispensers to survive a gauntlet of fire that would have claimed any other jet. This incident became a masterclass in modern survival, proving that the F-16's relaxed stability and fly-by-wire system allowed a pilot to dance on the edge of death and come home in one piece. Throughout the 1990s and 2000s, the F-16 continued to evolve as the eyes of the Air Force. With the addition of advanced targeting pods like Lantern and Sniper, the Viper became a precision strike master. It could fly at night, in bad weather, and drop GPS-guided JDAM bombs with meter-level accuracy from 30,000 feet. The F-16 was no longer just a dogfighter, it had become the world's premier wild weasel, an aircraft specialized in the suicidal mission of hunting down and destroying enemy surface-to-air missile sites. It was the first in, last out of every major conflict, from the Balkans to Afghanistan and Iraq. By the time the F-16 reached its 4,000th production unit, it was the most widely used fighter in the world. Over 25 nations chose the Fighting Falcon as their primary shield, creating a global community of Viper pilots. Its success was built on a simple truth: it was the most bang for your buck in the history of aviation. It was cheaper than the F-15, more versatile than the F-18, and more reliable than anything coming out of Russia or Europe. The F-16 had become the universal language of air power, a machine that defined a whole generation of military pilots and shaped the geopolitical map of the late 20th century. As the world moved into the 21st century, many critics predicted that the F-16 would soon be a relic of the past, replaced by stealthy fifth-generation giants like the F-22 and F-35. But they underestimated the incredible adaptability of the Viper's airframe. The F-16 has undergone a digital metamorphosis, evolving from a simple day fighter into a high-tech Block 70-72 powerhouse. Today's Viper is packed with an APG-83 AESA radar, the same technology found in the F-35, allowing it to track 20 targets at once from over 100 miles away. It is no longer just a jet, it is a flying supercomputer that sees the enemy long before they even know a Viper is in the area. One of the most critical upgrades in the modern F-16 is the Auto-GCAS, or Automatic Ground Collision Avoidance System. Fighter pilots often black out during high-G maneuvers, a phenomenon known as GLOC. In the past, this meant certain death as the jet would simply fly into the ground. Now, the Viper's sensors can detect when a pilot has lost consciousness, take control of the aircraft, and fly it back to a safe altitude until the pilot wakes up. This system has already saved the lives of dozens of pilots and billions of dollars in aircraft, proving that the F-16 is not just a lethal predator, but one of the smartest machines ever built. The modern F-16 also features conformal fuel tanks or CFTs, extra fuel pods that sit flush against the fuselage like muscular shoulders. This upgrade solved the Viper's oldest problem, its relatively short range. With CFTs, the F-16 can fly thousands of miles to a target, strike with precision, and still have the energy to dogfight its way back home without the need for bulky external drop tanks that ruin its aerodynamics. This transformation has allowed the F-16 to remain a strategic player in modern conflicts, capable of performing long-range missions that were once reserved for much larger and more expensive bombers. To handle the massive amounts of data in a modern air war, the F-16's cockpit has been completely redesigned with large area displays and Link 16 data sharing capabilities. A Viper pilot today doesn't just see his own radar, he sees what every other friendly jet, ship, and ground station sees. This network-centric warfare makes the F-16 a vital node in the NATO defense shield. A single F-16 can act as a mini AWACS, coordinating a complex strike mission while remaining low-profile and agile. It is the ultimate team player, a jet that makes every other aircraft in the formation more lethal just by being there. Weaponry has also kept pace with the times. The F-16 is now the primary platform for the AIM-120 AMRAAM, a fire-and-forget missile that can take out enemy jets from beyond visual range. It also carries the latest HARM missiles for hunting air defenses and dams for surgical ground strikes. The Viper is a Swiss Army knife of the sky. On any given mission, it can switch from a pure interceptor to a bomber to a reconnaissance platform with just the press of a button. This versatility is why it remains the backbone of 25 different air forces around the world, from the United States to Israel and Taiwan. Despite all the technology, the F-16 remains a remarkably cost-effective machine. It costs about a third as much to fly per hour as an F-15 or an F-35, yet it can accomplish 90% of the same missions. This efficiency of death is what makes the F-16 the most popular fighter jet in history. While the headlines focus on stealth and billion-dollar projects, the Viper is the one doing the heavy lifting in every corner of the globe. It is a masterpiece of industrial survival, a 50-year-old design that has been consistently reinvented to stay at the cutting edge of 21st-century warfare. The most dramatic chapter in the F-16's long history is being written right now in the skies over Ukraine. After decades of serving as a NATO deterrent, the Fighting Falcon is finally facing its original Cold War rival, the Russian Air Force. For Ukraine, the F-16 is not just a jet, it is a symbol of a total transition to Western standards. It provides the capability to use advanced NATO missiles to their full potential, creating a no-fly zone against Russian cruise missiles and drones. The arrival of the Viper in the East marks a historic shift in the geopolitical landscape, proving that this legendary fighter still has the power to change the course of a major modern war. Training a new generation of pilots on the F-16 is a monumental task. The Viper is notoriously difficult to master because it is so responsive, it reacts to the slightest touch of the pilot's hand. For pilots moving from Soviet-era MiGs, the F-16 feels like moving from a tractor to a Formula One car. They have to unlearn decades of old habits and embrace the digital, sensor-fused reality of Western air power. This training process, happening in secret locations across Europe and the US, is building a new elite class of Viper drivers who will be the guardians of European security for decades to come. The F-16's role in Ukraine is primarily as a multi-role defender. It is tasked with intercepting Kalibr and Kh-101 missiles, protecting cities from the air, and pushing back Russian Su-34 bombers that launch lethal glide bombs. With its advanced electronic warfare suites, the F-16 can blind Russian radars, allowing it to survive in the world's most dangerous air defense environments. It is a high-stakes chess match at Mach 2, where the Viper's agility and precision are being tested against the best technology the Kremlin has to offer. The outcome of these battles will define the future of air power for the next 50 years. But even as the F-16 fights in the East, its production is still going strong. Lockheed Martin has a massive backlog of orders for the new Block 7072, proving that the world isn't ready to give up on the Viper just yet. Countries like Poland, Romania, and Slovakia are rebuilding their entire air forces around the F-16. It is the perfect bridge aircraft, a jet that offers high performance today while preparing nations for the eventual transition to the F-35. The Viper has become the universal language of NATO air power, a machine that ensures every allied nation can fight as one coordinated force. Looking toward the future, the F-16 is becoming a testbed for AI wingmen. The U.S. Air Force is already testing unmanned versions of the F-16, known as QF-16s, to fly alongside human pilots as loyal wingmen. These AI-controlled Vipers can take the highest risks, drawing enemy fire or attacking the most dangerous targets while the human pilot stays at a safe distance. This unmanned evolution ensures that the F-16 airframe will continue to fly well into the 2040s and beyond, Perhaps as a robotic protector of the next generation of stealth fighters. The Viper refuses to die, it simply evolves. In the final analysis, the F-16 Fighting Falcon is the most important combat aircraft of the last half-century. It was born from a rebel idea, survived the skepticism of the military establishment, and conquered the world through pure, unmatched performance. It is a machine of fire, glass, and digital magic, a jet that turned the pilot into a god of the sky. As the Viper prepares for its next battle, its legacy is already written in the clouds. It is a testament to the fact that a great idea, when executed with perfection, can change the world forever. The sky still belongs to the Falcon.